Today on Locked On Rockies, one of my most anticipated Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 9th day of February 2022. The lockout still in effect, but you're still locked on to your Colorado Rockies with the Locked On Rockies podcast, hosted by me, Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Rockies talk, breaking all things down Colorado Rockies from the fan perspective, and a little bit of my insight into the game of baseball. I want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. Like, rate, subscribe, all that stuff, folks, seriously helps. We are on the train to 50 YouTube subscribers, so if you can help us get there, that would be awesome. Help out the Locked On Rockies podcast by going to subscribe on YouTube, rating, subscribing, all that good stuff on your favorite podcast service as well. I am Paul Holden, like I mentioned, and today on Locked On Rockies, we are going to talk about Brendan Rodgers, someone we've talked a lot about this offseason, but I wanted to take a look at his projected line from Baseball Reference and think, maybe do a little speculation if we think that he can overperform, underperform, or if that projection is going to be kind of right where we think it is going to be. And I am going to need you, yes, you, the listeners' help coming up this week with something I want to do with the Locked On Rockies social media. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's talk about Brendan Rodgers. And let's first head out to Rock's Pile over on Fansided by Luke Mullins. Colorado Rockies is 2022, the year Brendan Rodgers becomes a star. A familiar story filled with setbacks and injuries saw former Colorado Rockies top prospect infielder Brendan Rodgers cement himself as a big league regular in 2021. After a 25-game stint in 2019 at age 22 and 7 games in 2020 in which he hit .224 and .095 respectively, Rodgers was able to break through in 2021 as one of the team's better hitters. Over 102 games, Rodgers hit .284 with 15 home runs, 51 RBIs, and 21 doubles. With only 9 RBI and no home runs through his first 2 trips to the majors, Rodgers finally hit his first big league home run on June 5th in career game number 45. This at-bat seemed to have been a turning point for Rodgers. Coming into the game, he was hitting .205 on the year, but from June 5th through the end of the season, he hit .293 with all of his home runs and 46 of his 51 RBIs. It is, and they go on to talk about it, how the things to worry about with Brendan Rodgers, including sophomore slump. Let's start there. I'm not worried about a sophomore slump necessarily for Brendan Rodgers, just because he's kind of had gone through the part of a lot of the slog and the slump. And I think that the way he's been handled in getting called up in his service time has kind of added into locking in that focus. And now that he has gotten the opportunity, finally got that consistent opportunity this year, I'm not as worried about that. I might be worried, however, about strikeouts. I might be worried about a lack of power, because right now, Baseball Reference has his projected line at a .266 average, 320 OBP, slugging .429, OPS of 749, 13 home runs, 19 doubles. Those are the numbers that I am hoping. I don't know if I'm looking for Brendan Rodgers to be the huge power home run bat, but I'd like to get close to 20 home runs. 15, I would think is where I'd like to see. 13 seems, I know it's only 2 home runs, but seems kind of low. And maybe though, Brendan Rodgers could dive deeper and be more of the player that we wanted and discussed in our hit more doubles, not home runs. It would be nice with Brendan Rodgers' speed and ability if instead of thinking of him as the big long ball guy, as the person that the Rockies are relying on to hit home runs or hit for power, he's the contact guy. He's the one that's taking advantage of the big doubles in the gap and becomes a bigger doubles threat. I think that would be, if Brendan Rodgers can hit a ton of doubles next year and bat in that 2-hole, he's going to be, I think, a very, very dangerous player The fact that that Baseball Reference has him hitting less doubles this year, decreasing his doubles by 2 in their projections, that doesn't seem right. I think Brendan Rodgers' best approach is going to be being a hit for contact type of guy. Leave the home runs to someone else and get and have the ability to. Obviously, I think we would love for that, but to rebuild the Rockies offense to getting it back to a top tier contending level instead of a bottom 5 like we feel like the Rockies have been for what seems like ever at this point. They do need to embrace this idea of just generating offense, not just through the long ball. I think the Rockies would benefit greatly if they go and they tell Brendan Rodgers, hey, I know the approach of the league right now is a strikeout is the same as a fly out, blah, blah, blah. Let's work on making it your focus, hitting it into the gaps. Your focus is taking advantage of Coors Field's giant alleyways and just being a more for contact hitter. I think that would suit Brendan Rodgers' style. I think that suits his build and his abilities. And I think Baseball Reference here is sleeping on Brendan Rodgers a little bit. These numbers seem low. My early bold prediction is that Brendan Rodgers is the best in some offensive categories. I want to say the best on offense, but it's hard to tell. I mean, there's not enough there. I don't think we've with only the 1 year, there's not enough time to fully say that, yes, Brendan Rodgers has the complete grasp on major league hitting to make it as consistent as we want it to be. However, I think this is going into the season and the offseason and all this stuff when Brendan Rodgers' mindset is, I am the starting second baseman for the Colorado Rockies. That's going to have a big impact. And let's talk more about that in just a moment. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Built Bar. It's a great way to stick to your New Year's resolution, to help kind of kick out some of those snacks, some of those treats that you have. And it's a great way to have a protein bar that honestly tastes good and not like those weird protein. There's so many protein supplements and so many protein things that have such a weird protein taste, and I can only describe it as like protein bar taste. I just remember playing sports and growing up, every time when I was introduced to protein, they all taste the same. They all tasted awful. And that's not the case with Built Bar, because they are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, that's 100% real chocolate. And you can see all the great macros for the Built Bars. But here's the down low on most Built Bars. They contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. The mint brownie, coconut, almond, and so many more flavors are available for you at built.com, including this month's limited flavor, which is white chocolate cookies and cream. And hey, go check out all the great options, because they don't just have bars. They have so much other great stuff at built.com. And when you go to built.com today, you can use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. That's 15% off your order at built.com when you use the promo code LOCKED15. Brendan Rodgers. This is key. This is the key to, I think, why I am not worried about the sophomore slump. I'm not worried about a big regression. It can happen. It's baseball. We know it's going to be baseball. Brendan Rodgers was a top prospect for a reason. Brendan Rodgers has shown this past season that he is a Major League Baseball player. He has the caliber. He has the abilities to play Major League Baseball. Now Brendan Rodgers gets to go into an offseason, a spring training, not having to deal with as much global pandemic stuff. I mean, there's the lockout looming, so they have that, but that's a whole different story. So I guess, honestly, that's a huge factor. I really shouldn't just brush that under the rug. The lockout, again, causing havoc in the offseason for yet another offseason of disruptions for players and their usual, and especially baseball players, the biggest creatures of habit, arguably, in sports. However, Brendan Rodgers, whenever they start getting going and all that good stuff, Brendan Rodgers is going to really, really be able to zone in and focus and say, this is my job. No longer is it a what if. Am I playing short? Am I playing third? Boom, boom, boom. Obviously losing his mentor. And especially if Trevor Story's gone, Brendan Rodgers is sitting there saying, this is my middle of the infield. I have huge shoes to fill because you are taking Ryan McMahon over for Ryan McMahon, a Gold Glove caliber defender. You are now losing your leader and veteran infielder, Trevor Story, most likely. I mean, I guess we can't officially count it out yet. Let's keep some sliver of hope alive, I guess, Rockies fans. Brendan Rodgers is going into this offseason, and I think taking his approach to the game, saying, this is my time to show what I can do and who I am as a baseball player and as a leader on this team. And I think he has the caliber to be that person, especially if he leads his way. If he doesn't need to try to be Trevor Story. That's what I'm talking about with his offense. We don't need Brendan Rodgers to try to replicate the big home run swing, the big power of Trevor Story. I want Brendan Rodgers to craft his own identity. And I think he's already beginning to do that. And honestly, I hope that identity is one that's a high contact, puts the ball in play, and really takes advantage of his speed and using those doubles and using the fact that doubles are a great thing to hit at Coors Field and honestly everywhere. I think if Brendan Rodgers takes his mindset and he applies it to his game, it will show other players on the Rockies an approach to offense that isn't mainstream, that isn't the big home run ball, that isn't caught up so much in Coors Field. This is all pure speculation. I mean, Brendan Rodgers could be sitting there, this offseason talking about wanting to hit more bombs. That could definitely be the case. But when I remember watching Brendan Rodgers and what I liked about Brendan Rodgers and what I liked about just his build and what he looks like as a ball player, a very athletic, great defender at second mixed with a good contact bat is exactly what I'm looking for to fill in right there. Get the power bat in the outfield, and we got to and get a strong defender at short. Let the Rockies excel at infield defense like they always have. That's going to be tough. I don't know what the Rockies will be it'll be a step down at shortstop. I think that's the only real way you can accept that. However, that does open up the possibilities with new defensive alignments, with shifts and all that stuff that Rymack and Brendan Rodgers can compensate for that and still make the bigger, better plays when utilizing and using the shift, especially with how wacky we saw shifts. So there's a lot of I don't know. I don't think we've seen the best Brendan Rodgers yet. If he stays healthy, if he really embraces this role, if he comes into this year knowing, no more getting 20 at-bats in a year, no more up and down, no more of this. It's Brendan Rodgers' time to step up and break out. And my opinion is he will. And I think he will overperform this projected stat line from Baseball Reference. Again, let's just take it all the way down. 101 hits, 19 doubles, 2 triples, 13 home runs, 49 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 25 walks, 91 strikeouts, 266 batting average, 320 on base percentage, a 429 slugging percentage, OPS of 749. I just think he's going to be better than that. I don't think he's going to hit a ton more home runs. I think a 15 home run season for Brendan Rodgers is completely viable and completely easy to expect. But I see him being a bigger threat when it comes to extra base hits. I would like Brendan Rodgers to lead the team in doubles this year. If Brendan Rodgers leads the team in doubles this year, then that is a good sign. I want it to be a tough competition for doubles led, but I want Brendan Rodgers to be out on top. And I think he's going to be a great defender. My eyes are fixated on Brendan Rodgers throughout the spring and throughout this season. He is going to be a key part to the Rockies having any form of success, and especially because the Rockies only gave their top prospect 32 games appeared in 2 seasons before 2021, before handing him the reins and letting him play his games out there. And again, he is the second baseman. We talked about this before. He is the second baseman. The Rockies need to address shortstop through free agency or someone that they already have, calling up a prospect or going with whatever prospects they already have. Brendan Rodgers should play second. Ryan McMahon should play third. And I want Brendan Rodgers to be leading the team in doubles from the 2 hole for the Colorado Rockies in the year 2022. All right, folks, I need you, yes, you, the fans' help on something that I realized that I haven't done since I've taken over the show. Let's talk about that in a second. But it's Super Week, brought to you by Get Upside, and there's no better place to get coverage of the big game than the Locked On NFL podcast. Locked On Bengals and Locked On Rams are in LA all week covering the big game. And if you want to make some money on the big game, then why not head over to betonline.net. BetOnline has you covered for the Super Bowl and throughout all live sports when you want to make some money with more props, odds, and lines than ever before, as football is at the Super Bowl with the big game in just a couple of days. BigOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline.net has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. And of course, when baseball season eventually starts back up, yes, it will come back, folks. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm going to stay positive. BetOnline.net will be the place to go for baseball action as well. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. Remember, that is BetOnline.net. Okay, folks, here is what I need your help with. I realize on Twitter, I have never updated the header image, and I want it to be fun. So I want you out there, loyal Rockies listeners, at the end of the show, if you caught the show today, if you were listening in, I want you to tweet at LO Rockies. I want you to send me what you think the header image for the Colorado Rockies, for the Locked On Rockies podcast should be. Make it fun. Make it appropriate. Come on. I know you guys are all cool. You guys, gals, non-binary pals out there are all cool. But send me your suggestion. Big plays, funny. And it can be funny. Mind you, it's been Scott Oberg and the gang at spring training for like 2 years now. So I want you to go out and find your favorite Rockies moment, image, and send it to me. Send it to at LO Rockies and say, I wanted to do the Locked On Rockies Twitter header. I don't know, abbreviate it. If you tweet at me, we'll find it. We don't need to do some big hashtag for it or whatever. And then I want to look at them, and then we can do a poll. And I want to get votes, and I want people to, I want the audience, the fans, to vote on and select the next header image for the Locked On Rockies Twitter profile. I think that will be pretty fun. And then on top of that, if you help the Locked On Rockies podcast get to 50 YouTube subscribers, maybe we do a giveaway. Nothing too crazy, but maybe we do a little giveaway for 50 YouTube subscribers. Could be fun. Help get the channel to 50 subscribers, and I'll see what I can do. But send me your, oh boy, because I was getting choked up talking about Rockies moments there, but send me your favorite Rockies moments in Twitter header form, and let's get a new header image for the Locked On Rockies Twitter profile. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Stay up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your team every day. If you don't want to just follow the Colorado Rockies every day with the Locked On Rockies podcast, well, guess what? You can listen to Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Broncos, and stay up to date with arguably one of the busiest time in Colorado sports history, with the Nuggets still up and down. Who knows what's going to happen with them? The Avalanche, the best team in hockey. And of course, the Denver Broncos are up for sale and don't have a quarterback. Well, I guess they have some quarterbacks, but lots going on. And of course, you know what's going on with the Rockies because you've been tuned in right here to the Locked On Rockies podcast, which I thank you very much for doing. Hey, coming up here, the schedule might flip, but we are crossing over with Locked On Diamondbacks, talk some divisional stuff, catch up with Millard over there either tomorrow night, might be posting Friday and Monday type of split. So the schedule might flip-flop a little bit, but you can anticipate coming up here, the next pod being a crossover with Locked On Diamondbacks there with Millard Thomas. Maybe we'll do something before the crossover tomorrow, but honestly, the crossover sounds more fun for y'all. Okay, follow the show at LO Rockies. Get your submissions for the Locked On Rockies Twitter header. Send that over to our Twitter there, and let's get your favorite Rockies picture up there. And then if I have a nice list, we can change it up. We can do some votes throughout the season and go back to ones, and we can make the Twitter a little bit more of a communal space. But I'm Paul Holden. You can follow me at Paul Holden 33. We'll be back with more Rockies talks here real soon. Like I said, crossing over with Millard Thomas of Locked On Diamondbacks here coming up real soon. Let me know what you think about Brendan Rodgers, what you think about the Rockies by tweeting at us at LO Rockies and following, and those subscriptions, likes, all that good stuff helps us immensely. But folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.